Hi everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our first webinar in our new series, which I will explain a little bit more about shortly. While I have everybody online, just want to remind you that you can ask questions using the control panel on the top right-hand side of your screen. That will open and shut if you click the red button with the white arrow. Feel free to type in any questions you have as we go along. We'll probably stop throughout the webinar just to address those questions. Firstly, you might have noticed the new template we're using here at the moment, and that's because we've just been able to announce that we're one of 15 industry associations to be appointed to establish a trusted digital advisory service for our members. It's part of the Australian Government Small Business Digital Champions project, and today is the first webinar in this series. So we're hoping to put together a whole bunch of these webinars, perhaps face-to-face events and some information sheets to help our members move, I guess, into the digital age or improve your digital presence at the moment. So just before I hand over to Catherine, I'm hoping I can get you to complete a couple of quick polls just so we can see where people are at with their digital presence. And I mentioned to Catherine earlier, I haven't done a poll in a lot of years, so I'm hoping this will work. I'm going to just launch the first one, and if you can answer these questions. Now I'm hoping it's going to come up on the screen and you can just, yep, I can see everybody's working that out now. I'll let it run for a couple more seconds just so we can get the answers. But yeah, if you can just type in your answer there, just click the answer that most. Yeah, that's great. Okay, still coming in. We have a few more members to go. I'm just going to see if I can put that up on screen so everyone can see it. But let me just see what's happening there. Okay. Fantastic. Just got to work out how to close that poll. Okay, so we had 53% answered yes, their website was built less than 4 years ago. 35% said yes, they have a website, but it was built over 4 years ago. And the remainder have said no, they do not have a website. So thank you for that. I'll just close that now, and hopefully I can run one more poll. And I'll launch that now. Hopefully that will come up on screen for you now. Okay, great. I think I'll close that one off now. So the answers, if I'm not sure if you're getting those up on screen, but the answer at the moment says 77% of members are using Facebook, 58% Instagram, 9% Twitter, 32% LinkedIn, and 15% none. So thank you for that. I'll just close that now, and hopefully we'll go back to showing my screen. Right, so I am now going to hand over to Catherine. Catherine has been with us for many years doing webinar after webinar and in-person events. So some of you may have met her in the past or sat on a webinar before. So we're always happy to have Catherine join us. We're hoping to do a few more of these type of webinars in a series. So we're just working through those at the moment to see what are the best sort of topics to help our members out. So I'm just going to hand over to Catherine, and we're just going to do a bit of a sound check, and make sure that everything is working. So are you ready, Catherine?
Hello, Kerry.
Hello, I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. What a relief. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking.
It is a little bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? But yeah, no, it worked. I'm not sure how the polls worked online there, but it did get me some good answers. So thank you everyone for that. I'm going to leave it to you, Catherine. I will be recording the webinar. Once it's ready, I'll let everybody know, and it will be up on our website. And please complete the survey at the end that will pop up. So over to you, Catherine.
Thanks, Kerry. And thank you for doing those polls. We didn't get to see the results. We could only see the question, but I quickly wrote down the results as you were reading them out. So that gives me an idea of where everyone's at. And what I would say is that presenting to a group as diverse as the HIA is always a challenge when you're talking about something digital, especially something like social media, because you'll typically have in that group of 50 or 80 or 100 people, you're going to have staff members that work full-time in marketing. You're going to have business owners and partners that are doing it a little bit on the side. You're going to have people that are fresh and just want to find a little bit more about it. And you're going to have people that are potentially working for even some of the contract builders that know a huge amount about it. So what I will be doing today is giving you an overview of some of the ways that a typical business can use the online space to generate new work of reasonable clients, basically. And I'm more than happy to go into some questions to go into detail for some of these areas, or if you're a little bit further ahead than this information might be, please feel free to ask a question and we can always go into some of those areas for you as well, because like I say, this is something that we put together as an overview and we can definitely drill down, and also potentially letting Kerry know if you want to drill down on any of this information in future webinars, and we are more than happy to come back and give you not just the information but the examples. So hopefully that's something really valuable that I can bring to the HIA, is to give you some examples of what other people in the industry are doing, which obviously is not easy to come across normally. So let's get started. Oh, I don't need that open. Get rid of that. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, and looks like from looking at that poll survey that a lot of you are using Facebook to promote your business in some way, and that would be fairly typical of businesses that I speak to as well, and that maybe it is or isn't particularly working well or kind of worth your time, if you like. So what we're going to look at today is how the internet can help you supplement the inquiries that you're getting, how and why social media fits in, so online advertising versus social media, I guess, other ways that you can use online outside of social media that can get good clients to find you, and how your image and your website relates to all of that, and how your website might be helping or hindering you getting new work at all, basically. Like I said to Kerry, I'm happy to take questions throughout the presentation, especially today. If I start to waffle or say something technical, I'm not hugely technical anyway. I have people under me that do that. But if I start to waffle or something doesn't make sense, please do type a question through and Kerry will interrupt me and get me to pop that into layman's terms for you. Got the wrong things, keep opening. Okay. Really quickly about me, and if you've been on any of the other webinars or you go to the publication section of the HIA website, you can download some of those webinars and you'll get to hear all about me. But basically, I've been working in the trades and services sector for 21 years. In my day job, I'm a business coach specializing in construction and trades and manufacturing, and I also own a marketing business that deals with small and medium business, and a really large percentage of those are builders and tradies. And through that marketing business, we do websites and we do low-cost marketing management for businesses, which really is a large part digital. We also do things like telemarketing and emails and things like that, but a large part of it is advertising online. So hopefully those examples from other businesses, perhaps a little bit like yours, might help us today. And I'm lucky enough to have been presenting mostly on marketing, but also on business and sales for the HIA for 11 years. So I did my first HIA Forum 11 years ago, and I got to do this year as well. So very happy to be hanging around the industry, and I've probably learned quite as much as I've taught. So see if that moves on. Every time I hit the mouse, it goes the wrong way. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is look at your marketing and what you're getting from it, and is that something that's serving the business well or not? And it can totally depend on where you are at with the business, what's happening out in the outside world in terms of the market, what's happening with the economy, all those sorts of things. But typically, most businesses are going to have a percentage of their work that's based on referral and a percentage of their work that's based on new inquiries. And that's going to vary quite a lot. But what I do find is that a lot of the members that I talk to have a really large percentage of referrals, which is fine, and it's a good thing, and it shows that you're good at your job, you do good quality work, and you give good customer service, and you're relatable, if you like. People aren't going to refer someone they don't like. So there is a real big advantage to having a referral-based business, but there are some disadvantages. So if you have a lot of referrals, you'll find that those inquiries, in inverted commas, those referrals are generally high quality. So if someone's been told by someone that they trust that you're great, you generally don't have to do a lot of work to get that person convinced that you're great, if you know what I mean. Which therefore makes them easier to convert. So we know that if we get a referral, there's a really good chance that they're going to go with you, even if they go and get other quotes. Local to other jobs, so that can usually be an advantage if it's a referral, unless the referral's for someone that you did 2 hours drive away and then they refer their friend, which I know happens all the time. It's going to be close to another job. So particularly if you can get a referral while you're actually doing the job, which is probably my first tip, is don't wait till the job's over to ask for a referral. If you have a really good client, ask them halfway through the job or ask them at the start, because if you get another referral for someone close by, that can be really handy versus I've just finished 90 minutes away and now I've got another referral over there. So they're the advantages of referrals. If you're getting a ton of referrals, some of the issues around that though can be that they're harder to control. So what I mean by that is the control of when you get those inquiries and where they are and what they're for is not with you. That is with your client base, what else is going on in their life, and whether they are feeling like referring you at the time. So you kind of give up the control to the clients in that way. It also means you don't have to do anything. There's no effort, but you lose some of that control. It can be hard to predict, and everyone that's got a referral-based business will know this, that they come in waves, and they can come in waves of good ones and bad ones as well, but you definitely have a run of getting lots of referrals and then you have none. And so this is where being reactive and getting the leads coming to you rather than you going and getting them can then leave you in those kind of that roller coaster of up and down in terms of how much work you've got on. They hunt in packs or a run. So like I said, you can get a run of referrals or a run of not. In terms of hunting packs, so we like to say that your worst clients tend to hunt in packs. Those D-grade clients that are really shopping on price and quite difficult to deal with, you'll find that sometimes you think it's a blessing to get a referral, but if it's a referral from a client that you found difficult, you may find that you end up out of the frying pan into the fire with that. And last one is the business tends to stay the same size. So when I meet businesses that have 80-90% referral base, you typically find that they'll say something like, we've been in business for 20, 30 years, 15 years, whatever it might be, and we've had our ups and our downs, but we're pretty much in the same place. And so there is something about referrals that they come along just when you need it so that you haven't got nothing on, but you never sort of end up with way too much. So it's the business sort of seems to hover. So all in all, you definitely want a portion of your business to have referrals, and that's why I've put 50 to 90%, because a lot of businesses I meet would have 70 to 90% referrals, whereas if you want to gain some more control, you could still get those referrals, but maybe aiming to have a 50-50 with new people that have never been in your circle and referrals. So why do we want brand new inquiries? Well, brand new inquiries are more effort. We're going to have to go get them, which means that the quality is going to vary, especially if you're going to get them off the internet. You're going to have to sort the wheat from the chaff. You're going to have to try and find the right clients and work out ways to weed out the wrong ones all the way through that pipeline. But having said that, you've got a much bigger pool to choose from. So you can afford to start being picky about what client, because there's so many more potential inquiries out there. They will usually take more effort to convert. So they don't know you and they don't know anyone that knows you, the same as a referral does. So that means you're going to have a few extra steps in your process to let them get to know you. Separate to other jobs. So when you open the doors to inquiries, unless you start geographically picking them, which you absolutely can and should do, you might find that you're getting them in a few different places. However, being able to market and go and ask for new inquiries of people that haven't met you means that you can then control what type of inquiry you get. And like I said, there is this massive pool of people out there that will choose someone to go with. And if they know that you're there and you're in the running, then they could potentially look at you. So you have this option to then say, well, if there's 2,000 clients out there looking for a builder, for example, today, let's say of those 2,000, we only want to speak to these 50, for example. And the way that I describe that to people is say, imagine that you're going into a pizza shop and you're handing over your $15 to buy a pizza. There's no way that you would go in there and hand your $15 over and say, I'll have whichever pizza you next feel like making. So you're going to pay for it, and marketing's the same. You're going to pay for it, you might as well ask for what you want on it. So control type and location. So what I'm saying there is trying to get new business in. We can pick where we want it to be. We can pick what kind of job we want it to be. We can pick what age our clients are. We can pick how old their kids are. We can pick all those sorts of things. We can try and even hone down on what's important to that client, you know, what kind of style of project they're building, all those sorts of things. New business, we can control the numbers of. So it's a mathematical equation, what you put in versus what you get out. Once you get those numbers right, you can control the numbers. That is controlling the tap. I've got a bit of a dip where there's not many referrals happening. Let's turn the tap up and get a few more inquiries. A fresh start with every client. So what that means is if you do decide, you know, I'll give you an example. You're a referral-based business and you're doing mostly renovations, 300 grand and under. If you wake up one day and you decide that you would now like to do $1 million plus custom homes, it's going to be quite hard to get referrals for that. But using the internet and your website and online marketing, provided that you can back that up with your work, there's no reason why your next inquiry can't be for that. So you don't get typecast if you're bringing new ones in. You get a fresh start with each client. You want to try a new pricing structure, you can do that with the next client. You want to start offering a new service, you can do that with the next client. It's as simple as updating your website and updating the ad. So it gives you that fresh start. And finally, you can grow the business as much or as little as you wish. You can grow the business bigger by bringing you in, and then you do well with those ones, and then obviously they turn into referrals as well. You can also grow the business smaller but more boutique and make more money per job, all those sorts of things. So if you're wanting to change the business in any way, be it more profitable or different kinds of work or bigger or in a different location, or you know, you want to reduce the amount that you're traveling, for all those reasons, that's when you might want to look at trying to do some marketing, and online marketing in particular, because it's easy to achieve those specific pizza goals. So to sum all of that up, why do we look at online? Well, online gives you a measurable way and a scalable way to top up your new inquiries. And I would really consider it to be a top up. It's therefore when you want more than what you're getting with referrals. Ideally, don't say no to referrals because we know that they're usually good customers and they're easy to sell, but online marketing gives you a way to top those up. And measurable, I'll talk about that in a second. And scalable, like I say, if there's 2,000 clients out there looking today, there's no way that all those 2,000 are going to come across you. So whoever sees that is only going to be a small portion of who's looking, which means that if you want twice as many people to look, you can usually, unless you're in a really, really, really specialized market, you can usually double the amount you're spending on marketing and double the amount of people will see it. So that's a really exciting thing, you know, from those of us, including me, that were around in business when it was the yellow pages and you really couldn't control how many people were going to see you on a given day. Internet advertising is very exciting for that. So we talk about measuring. This is for some of those of you that are using Google AdWords or you are using Facebook advertising, this may look familiar to you, but I wanted to show you this in terms of measuring just in case it doesn't. And the section that says campaigns, I've left that blank because this is an actual client, so I've taken that bit out. And as you can see, they're spending, this is an AdWords, Google AdWords report. if they're spending a reasonable amount in Google AdWords. When you're running Google AdWords or even Facebook advertising, what you can do is you can set up some conversion or goal tracking. And that is just a little technological nerdy widget that sits inside the website and inside the Google advertising. And that can tell us not only how many people clicked on your ad, but how many of the people that clicked on your ad then went ahead to phone you or to fill out your contact form. So that's what we call a conversion. And once you get that happening, that means that we can say, so if you look at the top line, for example, we can say that on this particular campaign in this area, we spent $3,311 and 105 people of that. So however many clicked through the website, it's probably about 300. And then 105 of those actually then phoned or filled out a contact form. So we now know for every single inquiry, it costs us $31.33. Now, if we're in a business selling, I don't know, packets of texters or stationery, then $31.30 for an inquiry might be way too expensive. But if we're in a business that's selling something that costs a few $100s, then $31.30 might be really reasonable, because even by the time we only win 1 in 2 quotes, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, it's still making us money. And this is what marketing's all about. It needs to cost you less than you make from the inquiry, and then you're in front. So this is just something to talk about, getting into the real depths of measuring your marketing online. This is not something you could ever really, unless you sat there with a pen and paper, that you could ever really tell from doing things like newspapers and yellow pages to work out the exact cost of someone contacting you. So that's really exciting if you're into stats and measuring like I am. So I'm happy to talk about that in more detail at the end if you want to. But how does online advertising fit in, and social media as well, which I know, can be either a giant waste of time or quite helpful depending on how you're using it. And so really the answer is, how does any marketing fit in? How does any particular type of marketing fit into your overall strategy? And purely what I would like to see is that every business has at least 5 different ways of inquiries coming in, and hopefully 10. And that each one of those gives you, and each one will give you a varying percentage of inquiries, but that each one of them gives you some inquiries. So if I say in the terms of a custom builder, for example, that you will have referrals as one, and you will have your online Google advertising as one, and you will have social media or Facebook as one, and you might have 3 or 4 architects that occasionally drop you in a quote as one. So all of those different things mean that they're all going to be on their own roller coaster of timelines, which means that overall you'll end up evening out and not having those dips and troughs and hills that you would have if you only have one type. So like, for example, referrals. So what you want to see is a bit like this, where the little dude standing on what looked like a diving board, that's your business, and that you've got all these rungs sitting underneath your business, so that if at any time one of those stops working, and anyone that's been advertising with SEO or on Google knows that sometimes Google or Facebook or whoever can change all the rules, and all of that work that you've put in to get yourself ranking at number 1 or whatever it might be can actually just go or can change. And so it's really important that you have other things to back you up and not just depend on one thing. If you've got Google AdWords working awesomely for you and getting you heaps of inquiries, that's amazing. But don't then get distracted by that and stop working on referrals or stop working on getting, people to know about you through those other avenues. So not putting all your eggs in one basket, I guess you could call that. So what goes with that? We've got all these different marketing streams dripping us in inquiries, and one of them's online. How does our online reputation affect how well our marketing is going to work, and how much is this going to cost us? So the first thing is, how are you perceived? And whether that's offline in your local community, if you walk down the street and you ran into someone that saw the logo on your shirt, how would they perceive that? Would they have absolutely no idea who you were? Would they think, oh, I've seen these guys around, they look really professional? Would they think, oh, this guy's a parent at my school, or I've seen them at a local fete, they're a really good guy, it must be a great company? Or would they say, oh, I'd seen something on Facebook last week and I heard that someone had a bad experience with them? So the onus is sort of on you as a company to know how you're perceived. So how you perceive locally is really kind of the word of mouth that's in your local area. And that sounds like it's something that you can't control or that isn't important, but it's really, really important. And not just about getting clients, but that's also having a great reputation in your local area will get you the best kind of clients, almost close enough to a referral. And being really strong in your local area is just a really great goal for the business. But it will also get you good employees. So if you're seen around the traps as having a really good business, working on good jobs, having good clients, lots of good word of mouth, that's also going to make the best kind of tradespeople want to work for you. And now in terms of online, you imagine that's kind of blown up to a kind of Australia-wide level of being on the internet. And how do we know what people are thinking about us, whether it's anything at all on the internet? So one of the ways that you can do that is you can set up what's called a Google alert. So looking at the screen here, if you go to google.com.au/alerts, and what you can do is you can pop in your business name. And if you also trade under your own name, like if people would look for you under your own name, you can put in your own name. And what it will do is it'll search the internet every week and it'll send you an email letting you know if there's anything being said about you online. That can be really helpful in terms, it's not foolproof, but it can be really helpful sometimes in turning up reviews and things like that you may not have been aware of. The other thing is just to keep an eye on all the review sites, and if you are popping up, or use one of the softwares that track all of your reviews and testimonials, so you can keep an eye on them. And if you have any negative reviews, you can deal with them appropriately, which can sometimes actually leave you looking better than if you hadn't have had it in the first place. The second part of online, so the first part is your reputation, which is effectively like a digital word of mouth. The second part is your website. Now, your website is lots of things. If you talk to an SEO company, they'll say that your website needs to rank organically and da-da-da-da. The most important thing for me, for most of the members, is that you're not going to need squillions and squillions and thousands of inquiries a year. You need a few good inquiries that turn into good clients, and then your good workmanship will speak for itself and they will turn into referrals and so on and so on. So it's much more about quality than quantity. So for that reason, the most important function of your website is that it is an online brochure for your business. That going to your website makes me feel the same way as walking through one of your best projects or as meeting you in person. I want to get the same feeling when I go to your website. I want to feel like I'm starting to get to know you. So your website should therefore, like I said, it doesn't have to be completely whiz bang unless you want to be known as innovative. It just needs to reflect your style and reflect your values and kind of the quality of your work. So if you're into heritage, have your website kind of have that appeal, because those kind of clients will love that. If you're really looking at the bottom end of the market and first homeowners and doing that price comparison stuff, then you can have a website that looks a bit salesy and sort of speaks about those things. If you want to be very custom and boutique and high end, then your website needs to be quite polished in that regard as well. You also want, what's going to happen by doing that is the right clients are going to feel like they're in the right space, and the wrong clients may actually feel like they're in the wrong place, which is great because then they don't contact you. Then you don't get that horrible temptation to say yes to the wrong kind of client just because they've called. So your website is kind of both at the one time a way of attracting the good clients and maybe even pushing off some of those clients that are maybe just not right for you. So this is why I rabbit on about the website so much, is because the website is just the hub of everything else that you do. If your website isn't any good, there is a really good chance, and we can measure this by how many people are coming there and how many people are inquiring, but there's a really good chance. I've met some of the most amazing builders who just have the most appalling websites, and I know that they are getting referrals where the person referred is going to that website and thinking, nah, this doesn't sound like the people that I was referred to, I'm not contacting them. You know that. Conversely, there's operators out there that aren't that good, that have a website that makes them look amazing, where customers are coming across them and thinking, oh, I haven't seen them before, I'll give them a try. So it's sort of like your resume going out into the world, that you have to make yourself sound good so that you get the opportunity to meet them. So all of these other things that you might do, emails, brochures, business cards, even signage on your car. If you've got your phone number and your website on your vehicle, even if someone's holding their phone when they watch you drive past, they will still look you up on your website. They're not going to call you. So every other thing will come through your website before they contact you. And the little squares that I've added down the bottom to that picture, what I'm saying there is that the other flip side of that is that if you are in a position where you need to redo your website, doing it does not have to be a kind of thankless task that then doesn't do anything else for you. So first of all, that's going to put you in a good place to be able to get some reasonable inquiries. But second of all, once you've gone to the effort of creating your website, you can chop that up and use that for all your other marketing. You know, you can talk about your services on your social media. You can take the colors and the branding of your website and use that for all of your branding stuff. You can take the About Us page and turn it into a brochure that's a hard copy that you hand out. So once you've done the website, you kind of consider that to be, okay, let's put the kind of effort and the brain power into making our website be how we want to be represented. And then we can kind of kick back and just copy it for everything else. And that also creates consistency. So it's actually the perfect way to go about things, but it's also quite efficient. So in terms of your own website, and I think if anyone wants it, I do have a website self-audit where you can go through your website and do what we do when we do a website review and kind of look at all the different areas. And I have also provided to Kerry a little handout that says, you know, 6 things your website can do. So you could kind of go through and rank it yourself if you want. But here's some tips about making sure that your website does convert. So convert means that when as many people come to your website, that as many as possible contact you. Now, your website is going to be like a stand at an expo. Out of the 100 people that come past that stand, only 10 are going to be ready to buy at best. So you want to be able to do something for the other 90% of people walking past your site to make them remember you. But for the ones that are ready to inquire, we want to make sure that we get their attention and get their contact details. So these are some tips from one of the technical people that helps me, and she's put here to know the kind of people that you're looking for and where are they coming from. Geographically can be really important. People don't realize how specific they can be geographically using the internet. Manage your content. So content just means the words and pictures on your website. Don't overthink it. Don't spend the next 20 years trying to write the perfect words and find the perfect picture, but at the same time, make sure that what you do put there, you know, less is more. Think about it in terms of an art gallery where you've curated the best of your work. It doesn't need to be all of your work. It just needs to give that right feel that I'm talking about. Functionality. A lot of people will fall down on things like speed tests, that if your website takes too long to load, people are out of there now. People on the internet, you think of them in terms of 3-year-olds, very, very short attention spans. You really got that, you know, that whole 3 seconds to grab someone's attention and then you've got it for 30 seconds. It's never been more true on the internet. You've only got probably 1 second to grab people's attention, and then they may actually come and engage with your site or your social media. And conversions, so multiple conversions means just make it easy for people to contact you. Can they phone you? Can they send an inquiry? Can they see a project on one of the pages and click to find out more about that project? Can they sign up for an email newsletter? Just how can people make it easy for people to start connecting themselves to your business so that when they head off and browse the other 50 sites that they were looking at that day, there's this little breadcrumb trail of how they're still connected to you. Liking your social media or Facebook page would be another one like that. So that probably leads me on talking about Facebook to social. And 5 years ago, I was standing up in front of lots of members at lots of presentations and saying, don't spend too much time on social media, and for the love of God, don't give it to someone that's under 25 in your office, because they'll spend ages on it. And that can still be true in some respects. There is still much time to be wasted in social media if it's not done right. But at the same time, there is definitely a place for it in your businesses now. So how does social fit into that marketing plan of all of the different drip feeds that we're talking about? So simply, social media gives you a way to mass market. So we were exposed to 500 ads a day back in the old days, and now as many as 5,000 a day. And everyone would know that. If you're on social media, even for a second, if you drive through the city with the billboards, if you watch TV, if you listen to the radio, we're bombarded with marketing messages. And so in times when the market is slower, and I know there'll be different parts of Australia now where your market might be slower, if the market's slower, that there is still always enough people out there wanting to get quality for the price, and not just the price for the price, if you like. And so what social media can do is can help you reach thousands where you would have only before reached maybe 10, and that gives you a better chance at finding those ones if they're harder to find, if that makes sense. So how do we get people's attention on social media? We need to be more creative, yes, a little bit, but most importantly, we need to be more persistent. So social media is, if you think about it, is the equivalent back in the days of leaflet dropping when I was already in marketing. Social media is the equivalent of dropping a leaflet in every single person's house for a whole suburb. It really is a way to get in front of those people. Now, that leaflet may float past their eyes and get thrown in the bin. That's what we call reach. They saw the branding, they didn't do anything about it, but they still saw it. Now, if they got that leaflet every week for a year, that means they had 52 exposures to your brand. And do you think when the time came that they had to then pick a service that they might think, oh, that one for some reason seems like a really solid and persistent and potentially a big company, you know, that gives that idea of if they're there now, they must have always been around. And so that gives you that repetition, gives you that credibility that when the time comes that they need it, you might be what we call top of mind. Top of mind means I need my lawn mowed, I'm going to think of Jim's Mowing. Top of mind means you are the person they think of. Totally possible, no matter how small your business, for your local area. Most of the time I say, especially for people that want to stay fairly small, let's make the goal that for your kind of work, you're considered to be in the top 3 of the best in your area. What a perfect goal. So I digress because I get excited about that bit, but social media, these stats you can get a copy of when you listen to the recording, but quite simply, the most important one down the bottom, this is from a census survey, is that 64% of people are more likely to trust you when they see you interacting on social media. That's a good enough reason to look at considering social media, because we are talking about strangers trusting you, which means we are talking about strangers becoming a bit closer to being referrals, which is a good thing. So how does all marketing work, and how does social media in particular work, is groundwork versus action. And I'll use this picture in almost every marketing talk I do. And the other way you can look at it is branding versus advertising. So your area of where you want to work, be it the whole of Australia, be it just your suburb, be it somewhere in between, that area is the ground, is the dirt. And anything you do in terms of branding is the groundwork, is fertilizing that ground. If you really did drop 52 flyers across a year, that house would be what we call fertilized. So that house would have some groundwork laid so that when the time came that you then did an ad on TV and said, call now for this special offer, it's more likely that that house would call because that fertilizing and that groundwork's been done. So in social media, you have this way of doing the fertilizing and the groundwork very easily and very cheaply, because you're only aiming to get that your branding past those people. You're not even necessarily asking them to do anything at that stage. You're just laying that groundwork. So in social media in particular, you can choose 2 types of advertising. 2 types of marketing, not advertising. One is for groundwork, fertilizing, and one is for action. We want them to do something. Give you some examples. So if I use Facebook as an example, what you traditionally think of social media, in inverted commas, is all about engagement, which is about groundwork. That is about, let's be an online newsletter for our clients and for the general public and teach them about kitchen renovations. Or let's show them a video of our company just to get them to like our page. So all of this stuff is just about interacting with the community. We say, so here with Jim's Antennas, we want them to be known for being technically ahead of everyone else. The technical advisors, what's the latest things coming out? How does this all work? So by sharing their expertise about that, they're positioning themselves then as being the teachers in that industry, so that when someone wants to know something, they might come back. So with them, we're even looking at doing things like live Q&As with the technicians so that the public can ask them questions. So it's all about, so groundwork or engagement is going, this is even better than dropping a leaflet. It's like dropping a leaflet and then knocking on the door and saying, can I tell you about something? It's all about building a reputation and getting known in your area of however big that is that you choose, to be known as being a good company, a friendly company, a innovative company, whatever values are going to serve you. So that's some examples, many more where they came from. Then you've got a call to action. So this call to action here says like page. You see the button on the left here where Simon is, and that says like page. Well, typically nowadays, if I'm placing Facebook ads for people, that will say learn more or shop now or something like that. And then that button will go straight to their website. So not even on Facebook. So all of you, I think there was 77% that said you're on Facebook. I'd be very keen to know what percentage of you are advertising on Facebook, because I'm finding that particularly for a smaller business that wants to get people engaged kind of at a really low cost, that it's really worth trying some Facebook advertising as well as your Google AdWords if you're doing those. So Facebook advertising is completely different to doing those posts and boosting posts and things and trying to lay the groundwork. Facebook advertising is almost an exact alternative to Google AdWords, with one exception, which I'll talk about in a second. But both of those are about, we're going to spend some money, we're going to choose who sees the ad, and we want them to do something. We want to do a call to action. And the call to action will typically be come to our website or give us a call or fill out this inquiry form, or some way that they're going to come a lot closer to becoming an inquiry for you or a quote. The difference between AdWords and Facebook, one is cost. Facebook can be, typically about a third of the cost. But then the downside of that is that people on Facebook or Instagram or, social media advertising, where you're paying for the clicks, eBay even does this, by the way. You now have to promote things on eBay and pay for a click. The difference is that on Facebook, clients are going to be earlier in the cycle of buying. So when someone goes to AdWords, that is exactly the same as what they used to do with the Yellow Pages. So they will go and they will say, let's say renovation builder Sandringham. They are now ready to look at engaging a builder for renovations in Sandringham by the time they type that. There might be some early stages where they might type renovation builder reviews or renovations, should I do it, on things like that where they're still looking. But by the time they type the words that you're most likely advertising for, they're usually ready to start looking at making inquiries. So what that means is that they're now in a position where they're going to be potentially more worth your time because they're more serious, but they're also going to be right in the midst of looking at with all your competitors. Advertising on Facebook is similar to putting an ad in your local paper in the middle of all of the news, not in the classified section. So it's basically saying, we reckon that if you're this age with this age kids and you're interested in home renovations and you're watching renovation shows on TV and you've got more than 2 children, that you might be in the market for a renovation or extension, right? So we're going to put an ad there, and we know that not all of you are going to be, but we're hoping that some of the people that see that ad are, oh, yeah, you know what, I might think about doing that. And so the disadvantage there is that they're not as far down the chain of being ready, but the advantage is that you'll probably get them before any of your competitors have a chance to get their foot in the door as well. So both of those things, Google AdWords and Facebook ads, are the 2 ways that you can get measurable inquiries. And they both have advantages, and even as a small business, you can definitely be using both of those to your advantage. And I'm happy to talk about either of those in detail or do another webinar or however that works. But those things, having said that, they both click through to your website. So if your website's pants, that's going to be a problem. Some more examples of call to actions. See these ones, it says learn more. One's a competition and learn more. So how much is that a call to action? Giving people a reason to hurry and clicking through to the website. But bathroom tips, clicking through to the website. They can be a lot more overt than this as well. You could say, do you want to renovate your bathroom? Click here. So that's a little touch point on online ads. The next thing that you can do on the internet that you may be doing a little of is online listings. So online listings is meaning like putting your business in certain directories and places where people might go to find your type of business. AKA, this is an online version of the Yellow Pages as well. Your competitors will all be there, but so will you. And if you put better stuff in your ad than them, there's a good chance people will call you. So the most important one by far is Google My Business. So Google My Business is when, just for those that don't know, when you look for something, car dealers, Penrith, and it brings up the map with the little red pins. Each of those pins is a Google My Business listing owned by a business. And your business probably has one of those, whether you have claimed it, whether you've populated it with information, whether you're actively working it, whether you're getting reviews, all those things kind of depend on you. But a lot of businesses will actually have the little pin there. What this has now become is a whole separate way for customers to find you. It has, because customers love it. They love finding that local address and seeing the reviews, and it's very, you've probably used it yourself to find a restaurant or something. So because of that, it's become a really reliable way to get new customers. And the advantage is, once it's up and running, provided you look after it, it's free. There is no cost to having a good Google My Business listing, and it can really deliver a lot of inquiries for you. So what you need to be doing with those is you need to claim it, and then you need to put your information up, and then you need to get your clients leaving reviews there as well. One of the things that makes your listing come up before others is having reviews and having good reviews, and especially if they can mention the suburb and it happens to be in the area that you service. That's really important to Google. They want you to seem local. And the other thing that you need to do now with this is you treat it like another version of social media. So one of the things that Google was saying to us, we do these coaching calls with Google often and use our clients' marketing as an example. So we'll ring up and say, this one's not ranking high enough, what do we do? And they'll walk us through. And so one of the things that they're saying now is that businesses need to post twice a week on their Google My Business listing, new information, for that to be one of the reasons why it stays up the top of the list and gets seen by people, which is massive, twice a week. So we would suggest, apparently photos is enough. So not when you first, if you're going to first set this up, don't just dump all your 50 photos in there at once, just put 2, and then every week put an extra couple of photos up as well, because the posts that you do up there expire after 7 days. So it's about keeping the information current, and you can absolutely recycle this information. Plus, remember, like I said, start it on your website, chop it up, use it on social media. I just said to someone yesterday, they are in a demo, and I said to them, take your social media stuff and those two in your social media plan that you're already going to do, put those 2 on Google My Business listing as well. So that's kind of ticked off. So that's the Google Map. Most important, if you take nothing else out of it, Google Maps the way to go. Again, they will go to your website. So make sure your website's not amazing, but serviceable. Other directories you can look at, one of them is Houzz. There'll be some of the members that are on this call that definitely have been to Houzz, and you pay to be listed on there. Some industries in some areas have found this amazing, particularly kitchen and bathroom in certain parts of Australia have found it good. Others have found it to be not so good. It did go through a bit of a wave. Maybe it's petered off a little bit now, but it had this magazine kind of Instagram style way of presenting the businesses. And the businesses that did well with it would tell me that the quality of the inquiries was quite good. So certainly if you feel like you've tapped out of some of the other ways of getting people to your website or getting them to contact you, a Houzz listing's a good idea to try. And you pay by picking certain geographical areas, so you can kind of have 1 area or 2 or 3 or something like that. So you can negotiate too with them. there's a tip. If they haven't got a lot of people in your category, you might be able to squeeze a better deal. So that's one of the ones to look at. That can also be a bit of a filler if your website's not great, because there's sort of enough information on your house listing that people may inquire straight from that. Same as your Facebook page, particularly if you're a tradie. If your Facebook page is good enough, even if your website's horrible, you'll still get some people that won't go as far as your website before they contact you. Service businesses like hairdressers and things like that is typical. They often don't have people go to their websites or don't even have one because they can convert off Facebook. But I think you'll find if you're anything bigger than that in terms of projects, that they will want to see that online brochure of your website. Other directories that you can look at. Number 1, Trade Build for the HIA. This is something that's provided to you as a member. So make sure you have your Trade Build listing, and Kerry can probably post some information or tell you a bit more about that at some point. Yellow Pages. Please don't pay for the upscale fancy pants page on Yellow Pages, because you won't find that generally, I hope there's no one on Yellow Pages on here, but you generally won't find that that's worth the money. But make sure that you do have a listing, because guess what happens? They spend a lot of money on Google, and make sure that they've got everyone on there. True Local, same thing, that's owned by the Leader newspapers. Similar kind of thing. Hot Frog, Aussie Web, these are all just directories that have a lot of credibility with Google. So they have a lot of what we call Google juice. They already rank quite highly, which means that they're probably going to beat you if it comes down to who's going to have the highest rated Google ad. And so you might as well have a listing on there. 3 quote sites, and there's heaps more like this, but HI Pages is the one that most people know. And this is where a customer can go on and put in their job, and they will have the option to be quoted by 3 different companies. Typically, and I'm happy to open questions about this, typically I find that a really good spot to send people if they're just starting out in business. So especially if a carpenter's just got licensed and they want to essentially practice on customers. Actually, another great one for that would be Airtasker. So I know a guy who is a home maintenance who's now just quit his job with work that he's doing on Airtasker. So those are ways that you will be in the mix of competition and probably lots of people undercutting you, but that it can be a good way if you're starting out to get some experience, get some photos for your folio, learn how to sell and how to quote, and all of those things. But most people I find grow out of those. And then lastly, review forums. There's heaps of these. There is also software that helps collect all the reviews over the internet about you and put them on your website, or promote them on social media. So I'm happy to talk to you about those, especially if you kind of feel that you're doing everything I've spoken about. Then things like Boost Review or the product review service, or I can't remember what it's called, Nearby Now. Those sorts of services will collect all the reviews and help you use them to market. But keeping an eye on all these review forums. These are for consumers to leave a review about you. Make sure that you're on them so that they can do so. Make sure that you're finding out about them if they have done, and all those sorts of things. For us in Australia, by far the biggest places people are going to leave reviews is going to be on Facebook, on your Facebook page, and on your Google Maps listing. If I had to pick one of them, so if you were going to then send an email to people and ask them to review on one, I'd say go with Google Maps listing, because Facebook we can always come back to and get that later. But Google, we really need them to do something. They need to go on and potentially create an account and things like that. So, but definitely keep an eye on the other ones, particularly Home One can be very interesting to learn what not to do. So some ways to get more online reviews. Like I've said, this is becoming, probably 8 years ago, I would have stood up and said, you need to get video testimonials because no one believes written testimonials. Honestly, those words came out of my mouth. And then now I stood up in a forum in Melbourne and said to all the members, people would probably now trust written word more than a video where they think that client's been put up to it. There is something that's happened in this age of everyone reviewing restaurants, and the young mother demographic basically makes all the decisions on reviews. So online reviews has now become this social proof, or this digital proof of what you are like as a company. It's worth so much. So going back to your old customers, bringing them up, sending them an email, finding them on Facebook and asking them to leave a review can be really valuable. So here's some tips that we've put together. Offer different places to leave a review, or give them the old school option of telling you something over the phone or sending you an email and you can put it on your website as a testimonial. That's still very valuable. Publish your reviews across multiple platforms. If someone's left you a nice review on Google, you can copy and paste that and put the little abbreviated version of it as a Facebook post or a Facebook ad. You can use them. Create incentives. You can either create an incentive for someone reviewing your business by bribing them, which in a non-tacky way might be something like an email going out that says, we're working on expanding our presence online. We're offering a $25 Bunnings voucher for anyone that leaves a review in the month of June. That's bribing, but in a not too tacky way. You can also do thank yous. So if someone does leave a review, you can send them a thank you and say, hey, if you also go across to Facebook, that would make our day. And that can be just asking, honestly. Finishing a job and sending a text message and asking can be the make or break. Ask at the right moments. Don't feel that you have to wait till the job's finished to ask for a testimonial. You can get a testimonial. I've said this to health professionals all the time. You can get a testimonial on your manner, on how you are. You don't have to wait till you've fixed their back or whatever before you get a testimonial. You can get a testimonial based on your service and how you've treated a client. Make it easy for them to leave one. Respond to every review. This says even the negative ones. I'd say especially the negative ones. And sometimes, and I know if you've ever seen negative reviews for hotels and restaurants and things, sometimes the business owner coming on and actually addressing that can make you like that place even more. So don't always consider a negative review to be the end of it. Just make sure you get a few more good ones to counteract it and address it online as well as offline. Contact them offline because you never know, they'll often take it down. Give your customers a positive review first. Hey, is it okay if I share your job on Facebook and say how great you were to work with? They are going to get on that post straight away and write back about how great you were. But also, what kind of business goes out and thanks their customers? It leaves a really good impression about you. And finally, you can call or ask them in person. They don't have to, it doesn't have to all be digital because we are talking about people, customers. We're talking about often homes that they're going to live in. This is real life. It doesn't have to all happen off the internet. We can get them to say something verbally and we can type it and we can say, can we put this on Facebook? And voila, something that happened in real life can be digital. A lot of times I've got a great client who I showed you their website before. It's an old client of mine. She always posts the hampers that they give people at handover on Facebook, and it's become quite a little cult following of what are they going to put in their hamper now because they source all local produce and stuff. So, it can be as human as you like it to be, I guess I'm saying. So in summary, and I've been watching the time and I've done all right considering, marketing for any new inquiries or marketing in general pretty much comes down to this. Create stuff, get it where the right people can see it. Ask them to contact you. That is marketing. Create something, get the right people to see it and ask them to contact you. So in terms of digital, create stuff. Create a good website that doesn't have to be the best website in the world, but has to be serviceable and has to show you off as you are. Then run advertising. Online advertising, ideally some of it is groundwork and branding, but some of it is also call to action and measurable. I spent this much and I got this many inquiries. Once you get those inquiries, turn some of them into jobs. Then most importantly, if you're on this webinar, that probably means that you care about things like this, so you do a good job. Do a good job, earn a good reputation. That reputation will be offline in your local community, but also on the internet, which will then lead to referrals who will still probably come through your website. So we come back to the start, have a good website. So just to summarize on what we covered, that you have some different ways of advertising online. It doesn't have to just be social media. Your online reputation is almost as important as your actual website. So what people think versus where people go. But all of your marketing feeds into your website. So make sure your website's okay. We gave you some tips to make sure how it converts, and Kerry can also email your PDF about that. Social media really gives you brand exposure. It's about dropping leaflets over the whole suburb and creating that fertile ground for other advertising. We looked at online advertising, which is your Google ads and Facebook ads specifically, and there's other ways. Local directories and especially Google My Business. and then how to get online reviews. And so hopefully all of that's just touched a little bit on how to do those things and given you only need to have 2 or 3 things that you need to do from this that are going to put you a little bit further ahead, and then you can come back and listen again, or you can get one of the other PowerPoints and go listen to another recording off the website. As long as you're doing something, especially in marketing, if you're doing something, you will get something. Activity always brings a result, even if it's not quite perfect. So that would be my biggest tip, is take potentially the Google Maps listing and the website as the 2 takeaways and just do something. Okay, I'm sure it's still 1 o'clock. 1:01, not too bad, Kerry. Happy for some questions.
You did pretty well. Actually, there's been a lot of questions. So Dennis asked quite early on, you were talking about like Google Analytics, keeping an eye on your website. So he asked, just wondering, what are some of the most useful tools that can be added to your website to create data on what people are looking at?
Okay, so you really only, so the most useful tool is Google Analytics, which is the word that you've used. And the person that set your website up can help you with that a little bit, or Google themselves can help you with that. And basically you need to set up a Google Analytics account, which means you have a Google account. So blah, blah, blah at Gmail is the easiest way to do that. And then you set up an analytics account. And through that, you tell it your website address and it will give you this little piece of code. And that little piece of code then needs to be pasted on your website. Now you can paste that on every page of your website if you want to know which pages people are going to, how long are they spending there, which pages are they looking at first, which pages are they then getting off your website and leaving. Or you can just paste it on the homepage and it's still going to tell you where people are coming from. Are they coming from social? Are they coming from typing your address in? How long they're spending there? How many of them are actually doing something, etc., etc. So Google Analytics will tell you all that. Then beyond that, having tracking codes for Google AdWords or having a Facebook pixel are going to tell you what people coming from Google AdWords or Facebook respectively are then doing when they go to your website from those ad sources specifically. So those things are important as well. Once you've got all of that, if you've got a website with lots and lots of traffic and you really wanted to know what was going on, you can get, I can't remember the name of one of them, but you can get analytical tools that will actually hotspot your website. So they will tell you, how freaky is this, where people were dragging their mouse, scrolling the screen, so what they were most likely looking at, what things they were clicking on the most, what portion of the screen had the most mouse hovers and all this kind of stuff. So you can get very detailed, but setting up Google Analytics would be far and away the first thing to do. And when you're on Analytics itself, what I would suggest is actually installing the Google Analytics app on your phone, because the app is a lot less confusing to look at. It's a lot easier to see what's going on your website looking at the app on your phone than it is looking on the internet.
Great. Okay. So there's a few tools there, but Facebook Pixel for Facebook page, and make sure you've got Google Analytics, and I can help you out with a few more details if you need that, Dennis, so just shoot me an email. But I will get through these other questions as quick as we can. Alison said, is it true if you advertise through social media that if somebody happens to write a bad comment, there's no way to erase this?
It's true whether or not you advertise on social media that if that happens, it's impossible. So you only have 2 options. So let's take Facebook, for example. You only have 2 options. You can have reviews on or reviews off. So if you were in an industry where you found that you were getting lots and lots of negative reviews, we probably need to look at why. But you can actually on your Facebook page turn reviews off altogether. The Google Map listing, I don't think you can opt out of reviews. I think that you have to have them. I'd have to look into that one. Having said that, yes, absolutely. It's really, really hard to remove a negative review, and there will be companies on Google sort of spruiking that they can help you remove negative reviews. I find far and away, if you get a negative review, it's usually vastly in the minority, and all the good ones kind of outshine it. But also contacting that client offline, if you can often deal with it and they'll take it down, or answering them online if you can't contact them, like I said, will often leave a better impression of you than if you hadn't got it at all. And one more thing I would take away from that is I did a presentation for SPARZA, the Pool and Spa Association, a couple of weeks ago. And there was a lady there that specialises in marketing to mothers. And she said that having a couple of negative reviews amongst all of the good ones, in most cases, actually led the customer to believe that that was a more genuine business. So what I would say is if you know that you are a good operator, open the gates to get reviews, because you will far and away mostly get good ones, and the occasional bad one kind of just shows that you have a cross section of customers and it's not the end of the world. Not something to be so afraid of that you don't let the good ones and that online proof of how good you are shine through.
Yeah, and look, I know there's a small business up here in Coffs and I know the owner, and she got a negative review, 1 star, and we actually responded to that because, you know, what the review was about really wasn't related to the business, and the person turned around and actually turned it into a 5 star. So it does happen.
Yep.
Can happen. So it's just the way you respond to it. And I think, as you've said, if you're seen to be responding to it, I think that, you know, looks so much better than people who just ignore it. And again, have as many positive ones as you can to push down the negative one.
Yeah.
And then that just goes into another question I had, because you mentioned about the, you know, enticing people to leave reviews, and Danielle questioned if that's, if you're allowed to, you know, pay for reviews. So I think if you're doing that, you have to, you can't pay to have a positive review. Is that correct? You just have to say, leave a review. It could be a 1 star review, or it could be a 5 star. You can't pay someone to give you a positive review.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, that would be unethical anyway. As far as I know, and there is certain things you can't do. So on Facebook, for example, you can't run a competition where as a condition they have to share you on their page. So you can't use their page as ammunition in the fact that you're going to put them in the competition, for example. There are some things that you're not allowed to do. As far as I know, you are allowed to offer your clients a thank you, and I would say thank you for leaving a review, but I would put under the guise of why. We're looking at marketing our business online, or we've just got a new website. We want to hear our clients' experiences, and can you email them through to us, or you can put them on Google Review. So really doing it kind of in an ethical way. But yeah, you certainly couldn't say, if you want to leave a bad one, we're not going to give you a Bunnings voucher. But you know, having said that, there definitely are programs, and I know Boost Review is one of them, where it will collect all the reviews, but it will only republish the ones that are 3 stars or above on places like your website or social media. So you can definitely pick and choose which ones you then go and republish somewhere else.
Okay, and just, you mentioned also leaving a review for your clients. I think that was Facebook, was it, that you mentioned, you know, you sort of can post some pictures of a job. Yep, there was a question there about what platform that was.
Look, you could do that really easily on Instagram or on Facebook in particular, would be the two. But you could also, could you do it on Google? No, not really. Yeah, so those would be the two, because that's really where you're connecting with people that don't know you.
And that software that you may have been trying to think of the name, Neil has said Hotjar is the one for the heat map on your website.
Yeah, I know it was called Hot Something. Thank you very much, Neil. It's been quite a while since I've had anyone quite at the level to be interested in that, but I just thought of one. So Hotjar. Thanks, Neil.
Great. There was a question here. You talked a little bit about, you mentioned Yellow Pages. So Stephen asked, Yellow Pages or Census, how does that fit in your opinion? And there was another question around, you know, are you recommending that people pay for a listing? And I think in the past we've said no. So.
In the past, we've started the answer to that question with, if there's anyone from Census on the webinar, please don't listen a bit. Look, I don't hear this so much now, but there was definitely a period of years where I would go out on a limb to say those were the years and the Yellow Pages book was kind of fading. There was a time when Census was quite hard in online stuff, and they were offering, you know, your listing then became kind of a mini website, and you paid for the website and the listing kind of all mixed together. And if you ever wanted to leave, you lost your website and things like that. So I would just, and those contracts were quite tight and quite expensive. So I would say, I'm certainly not suggesting you pay for super duper listing on Census, I'm pretty sure you can have a listing just for free, a normal listing, and that's probably where I would just tick off that we've got one. It may be a thing that you can pay to have it kind of rank up the top, and if you're in an industry where people may still go to the Yellow Pages to look for you, or if it's massively competitive, if you're a plumber, bizarrely that can be really hard to get leads online because they can be quite expensive through Google AdWords. So then you might need to go, okay, we're going to just stick in Facebook, or maybe we do rely on the fact that people are going to have to click twice. So once to go to yellowpages.com and then once to go to me. But we do experiment, always test and measure. We test and measure with paying for a boosted listing on yellowpages.com and see if that works better for us than having to try and be up the top of Google, where it's only going to be one click and they go straight to our website. So definitely another avenue, but in terms of what I was saying about just kind of being everywhere, that's just a free listing.
Okay, and Rebecca asked, they specialise in new residential homes and targeting boutique. Would you recommend Facebook advertising or Google AdWords?
I would recommend that you try both for the reasons that I said, that they're at different parts of the buying cycle. If you needed a new inquiry desperately and really quickly, I would probably start, it depends on what area you're in, to be honest, and at the competition. And there's some tools that you can tell on, particularly with AdWords. You can have a look at, it's called a keyword planner. So if you Google keyword planner, and it will tell you how many people in your area, make sure you pick your right geographical area, and it will tell you how many people in your area are searching for, you know, custom home, whatever area you're in, for example. And that'll give you an idea, and it tells you what the estimated cost per click is going to be. So that will actually give you an idea of, is it going to be cost possible to run AdWords ads and get inquiries for that. And if it is, I would probably suggest you try there first, if you have to pick one, purely because those people are closer to being ready to get a quote. But if you had, and Facebook advertising is very cheap, like you could do $100 a month. So if you had that extra budget, I would look at doing both because they're kind of a softer inquiry in Facebook. They're costing less, but hopefully you're catching some people a little bit more early on.
Okay, so hopefully that helps, Rebecca. So the keyword, Google Keyword Planner is the one that...
yeah, it's like a reverse search. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Instagram advertising?
Depends on the product or the service. I know a company that I work with that they do like off-site oil boring, something that is so not Instagram like, it's not funny, and they have so many Instagram followers because all of the guys on the rigs look at social media all the time, and they get a lot of their employees through that. So sometimes it can surprise you. In terms of so home builders and things like that, you are going to build you can absolutely build a massive following, and you're going to build a following often of people that are interested in that kind of space of renovations and homes and designs and all of those things. How many then lead through to inquiries is probably the thing that's up for measuring. It's not as likely, in my opinion, that you'll get the ones that are super serious at that point. Having said that, if you're in something else that's more consumable, so if you're in a personal service, if you're in selling anything of a personal nature, those things can go absolutely crazy selling those on Instagram. So use it most definitely to build a following. You can do ads on there, and I would absolutely recommend that you experiment with it, especially if your business is in a design kind of area. You know, you've got to remember with all these things that you're not talking big money, and you can put everything on a spreadsheet. This is the thing, you can go, you know what, like I can give you my opinion on whether that's going to work, but if you create amazing kitchens and bathrooms, or you create really modern builds, or you have amazing before and afters for renovations, take $400 and do some Instagram advertising and see what happens. You know, you can do advertising on LinkedIn. If you're a tradesman and you want to work for the bigger commercial developers and builders, try some LinkedIn advertising. take your $100 a week, do it for a month or 2 or 3 months, and then have a look at how many people click through to your website. And then you can tell for your exact, this is the thing about marketing. You need to know for your exact business, in your exact location, for your exact service, how much does it cost? Does it work? And work just means it costs less to get them than you make from them.
And so that probably leads into the next question I had from Debbie around how much is a good amount to invest into a Facebook ad. She said it's a small personal business. And I guess the beauty with Facebook is you can start with, as little as $10 a day. And it's about testing, isn't it? Testing what ad works and switching off the ones that don't work and which ones are costing you too much, and then work out the return on your investment, whether it's been worthwhile.
Absolutely, and it's like a little race. So what I would say is I've found, just experimenting myself in the last few weeks, that a shorter time frame, so spending the same money over a shorter time frame seems to work better. I think Facebook just wants you to spend more money. So if you spend $100 over 3 days or over 5 days versus $100 over the whole month, I find that you'll get a better result. And then just don't do anything. If that's all you had to spend for the month, that's okay. Because if you get enough leads out of that turns into a job, eventually you're going to have money to do that all the time, right? So it's just about, you can definitely spend as little as $10 a day. I would say starting point, we would typically go pick an ad that's going to run for between 3 and 6 days and spend $80, $100 on it. That would for something Facebook particularly, I would say that. And I would say don't spend that boosting a post and don't spend that on an ad that's around getting engagement. When it comes up and says create an ad, it has to be an ad, don't boost a post. When it comes up and says create an ad and it says what do you want to do, don't pick I want to get messages, I want to get engagement, I want to get people to like my page. Pick I want to send people to my website.
Yeah, and then would you recommend that they're sent to perhaps a specific page on the website that's talking about the exact thing that you're talking about in that Facebook ad, so they don't get to the home page and then go, oh,
yeah, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And you'll get a relevance score too. So when you have a look at how that ad's been going, Facebook will give you this little relevance score and it'll say how relevant is the ad to the people who are looking at it. And you think, well, relevant means if I'm doing an ad for whatever, I've got a client that's doing one at the moment for medallions, like medals. If I'm doing an ad for medallions, I'm going to go to a page that's got those, because if I go to a page about all of the medal products we have, people are going to be just very confused, So yeah, the more relevant, same with Google AdWords, even more so with Google AdWords. The more the ad specific, you can do a Google AdWords that says check out our gallery and go to the gallery. Just the more specific, the better.
But it's all, like we've said, it's all about testing, and you can do a couple of ads as well, can't you? And you can have them running at the same time and perhaps have a different image, because one image might get you a cheaper lead than another, and then you've got to just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I said, little race, like a bit distracted. It's like a race. So you could go, I'm going to spend my $100 over 6 days, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put $20 on each ad for the next 48 hours. And then whichever one does the best, I'm going to keep that going for the other and can the other two. And it can be something really weird. Like we've had some where we thought, oh, this ad introducing the local technician is going to go great, and people hated it. But yet this one that just had a photo of this went great. So, we don't always know our audience. So we're lucky with digital that we can test it out.
Yeah, that's the beauty of not having things printed in the hard copy like the old days. You can actually test it and see what works, switch it off, and it's all about testing and keeping an eye on it and making sure that it works for you. So I have a couple more questions because I know people are going to have to rush off. Daniel has also been waiting patiently. He wants to set up a Google My Business page, but he doesn't want to list his home address. I've mentioned to him that you can get around that, but I just said you might give a few more tips on how you do that. I think you just have to list your service area and you don't have to actually list your home address.
What you have to do, I'm almost positive, is there's a box to check that says keep your address hidden. So if you're a service-based business and you don't need a bricks and mortar address, you have to still put the address in, but you tick a box to say keep the address hidden, and then you need to specify your service area, and you're completely sorted from that. So it'll just prove that you're in there, but you don't have to. And you actually can have your service area be away from where you live too, by the way, because even tradies commute to work sometimes.
Yeah, and look, you will you'll probably still have to verify your actual address just with Google, because they're trying to
Yes.
stop people setting up these, I guess, fake businesses. But you'll probably get a postcard sent to your home address, and once you get that postcard, it'll have a code on it that you ring up and just verify. And once they verify that, then you're good to go. And as Catherine said, you can just tick that box that you don't show your physical address. There's a lot of businesses that don't want to show their actual physical address. So yeah, I hope that helps, Daniel. If you need any more help around that, just give me a yell. Let me just read these couple more questions. Candice asked, is SEO becoming less relevant than social media marketing these days?
SEO, I've had a few debates with a few people in the last couple of weeks about SEO. So a Google My Business listing is SEO. Paying an SEO company $1,000, $2,000 a month to get you ranking higher on Google is what people think of when they hear about SEO. So, at the end of the day, SEO means that you're hoping more people will find you on Google. Google doesn't want you to cheat at that. Google wants to deliver the customer the most local business that best suits their needs. They don't want to deliver the one that's paying the most. So they're kind of always in this fight against these SEO companies to have people ranking #1 and things like that. I would say, so my answer, without completely, saying avoid a whole industry, would be that for most of members and most of the people that I deal with, you don't need a lot of inquiries. You just need a few good ones. In which case, ads are going to be better because they're just going to give you directly what you need without trying to attract everyone. You're just going straight for who you need, and then you can measure it. So social media, not specifically, but online advertising is going to give you a direct result. And then working on things like Google My Business actually is doing your own SEO. So for me, I think this whole idea of getting those few right people to you is more important than a race to the top of Google. Because most of the time now, if you look for your business on Google, there'll be 4 or 5 ads, then there'll be the map, and then there'll be the listings that are organic, which could be people paying for SEO. So you're often not even on the screen, even if you're #1, because the ads and the map are in front of you. So I would say working on those 2 things first, you can kind of get a result that's going to be measurable.
Yeah, and I think I've done a couple of webinars previously around Google My Business and some business Facebook pages, so I'll send those links out as well. Let me just, sorry, it's just clicked down the page.
No, that's okay.
Anne-Marie has said, I have an old website which needs to be reinvigorated. What are the key steps I should look at and consider in order to develop a brief?
Well, Kerry, you've got that PDF that I did for the 6 things that the website should do. That would be a really good start.
Yep.
The first thing that you need to decide is your ideal client. So what is your ideal client in terms of the person, and what is your ideal job in terms of what jobs you would like to do? Because the website is your chance to order your own pizza and get whatever kind of jobs you want. Those are the most important things to know. Then I would say, so when I do a website for someone, we kind of have this service where we do all the copywriting and write all the words and manage it. So I try and get as little as possible from the client, because it's not usually that business owner's talent to put together a website. So the thing that we get them to look at, though, is list their services, obviously. We get them to find just one website, or up to 3, but just one's enough, where they like the way it looks. That's it. They like the way it looks, because you don't have to be unique, you just have to like the way it looks. And then #2, we get them to find one website for someone that's in their industry or a competitor where they would like to be in the same ballpark as them. I would like to be considered to be equally as good a builder as blah, 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 for example. And that tells the web developer what are the kind of things that they want to have in the site, what are the kind of customers they're wanting to attract. So I think those 2 things can kind of be enough in itself, is a website where you like the look of it design-wise, and a website where you would like to emulate that business. And then maybe talking a bit about your ideal client. Those are the kind of the things that you would need to get to a serviceable website.
great. All right. Sorry, I was just typing an answer to someone as well while you were speaking. So hopefully, Tammy, I've just answered your question. I will ask it just for other people who are still on the line, and there's still a fair few.
Yep.
So Tammy was referring, you mentioned about if you do get a good review, copying and pasting it into other platforms. So she was just asking how you do that, and so perhaps you could just touch on that again. So using your reviews, I guess, as a post on Facebook is what I had suggested.
Yeah, so you can do you can get all those softwares that will then repost it out, but usually what we would do is just write back to the client, hey, thanks, great review. Is it okay if I do a post on Facebook? And we just literally copy their words and put a photo of their project usually and do it as a post on Facebook. And then we boost that post out to all the people that like our page, plus all of their friends. So it's just making sure that our circle and all of their circles know how much people love us. So yeah, we just copy the text, add a picture and use that as an ad. Now, Kerry, you're also welcome to share my email address if anyone does want to ask me something later, because I know we're all going to have to wrap up or funnel them through or whatever you would like to do.
Yeah, look, and look, if anybody has a question that I haven't read out, sorry, there's been a lot of them coming through. It's usually the way with your webinars, Catherine. But I am aware you're probably going to have to shoot off, Catherine, so we can't keep you for too much longer. If you have a question I haven't answered it yet, please just type it in again. Otherwise, we will wrap up. I do see there's one from Rebecca. I'm just going to read it out. So Rebecca is looking.
Pick up Rebecca, but I'll squeeze yours in.
Yeah, it's around, she's just setting up Google My Business, just tried to set it up during the webinar. Down the bottom is a button that says create an ad. Is that different from Google Ads? Okay, so I've never seen that before. So
no, if you send a screenshot to me or Kerry, I can tell you, but I would say no. Probably they are going, we've got this audience of new business owners setting up their maps. Let's try and flog them Google Ads. I would highly recommend that it probably is a Google ad that they're trying to go, here, you've set up your Google My Business listing, now pay for an ad. So maybe just stick with the listing, get that right, and then come back and do it another time.
Yeah, so hopefully that answers. Yeah, so sorry if I confused Rebecca, because I was saying Google My Business is free and Google AdWords is a separate thing, but it looks like they might be cross-promoting, obviously, from one.
They're doing a Google
which of course they'll do.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the Google My Business listing, that's worth spending some time getting as much information as you can up there, because it really will help how quickly you get to the top of the listings for your area.
Yeah, definitely. And it does help with, and you want to try and get in that little map pack as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that gets you onto that first page, guaranteed. And I think that was a really good tip, just to remind people that keep the content updated on Google My Business, and don't put everything straight away. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Rebecca has sent through that screenshot, so I'll have a look at that when we jump off. I don't think there are any more questions, but if people do have questions, send them through. Sometimes people think of them afterwards. Catherine and I can have a look at those. So once again, thank you, Catherine, for your time. You've been very generous. We're going to look at doing more, obviously, so if people fill in the survey at the end and just let me know any topics. I think even out of today, there's some areas that we can always drill down into. We sort of skim the surface, but it's good to know which direction people want to go in. And it is interesting, I was thinking just before we started that many years ago when we started, Catherine, we didn't talk about Facebook at all, did we?
No. And honestly, I was saying, don't let anyone that's Gen Y go on Facebook, because you'll lose 8 hours a day. And, there's a place for everything.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and definitely check out anywhere that you can use some free listings. I think Houzz even has some free, you can list your business on there for free as well. So yeah, fantastic. Was there anything else you needed to add before you go, Catherine?
No, look, I don't think so. Just like I said, I am happy to be contacted if anyone needs to do that. Otherwise, please let Kerry know if there's something specific you'd like a webinar on, because I'm always happy to share that info.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a good day or good afternoon now, I think, for everyone. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Kerry. Thanks.
Bye.